Welcome back. I've got here with us Sarah Anthony, long-time Shifties member and returning speaker from last year.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your support twice. So you've heard some of the discussions prior.
I have, yeah.
We've had a lot of deep discussion around where the challenges are, how we feel about those challenges, how we can put positive action towards that challenge. Now we've got someone who's actually trained at doing stuff.
Yes, Alex. Not winning it anymore.
So it's like, for me, it just seems like, we're here, Danielle and I, both of us are always challenging our mindset, trying to change, not so much change, but move forward with our action towards becoming the best version of ourselves. And I feel like we've got a platform today to really share some conversation around that, around
Absolutely.
being the best versions of ourselves. And you do a thing to help people become the best versions of themselves.
I absolutely do.
So we're like, okay, where do we start? Maybe we should just start with an introduction.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my pen ready.
Yeah.
Taking notes.
Oh, no, the pressure.
So, maybe start with an introduction to yourself.
Okay. So, I mean, you've kind of said my name and how long I've been Shifties, and I am a long time admirer of the two of you here. So it's really
bless
nice
you.
to be
Thanks,
here.
Anne.
So thank you. And so what I do at Northpoint is train people to become coaches. So I help them to. And I became a coach many years ago. Too many to I don't even want to tell you when because it shows up my age.
Experience. It shows up experience.
Yes. And I had a career before that. And so when I started up that business, I realized that I wanted to impact more people and I wanted to help them to have the same skills and experience that I had, because I thought to myself, wouldn't it be great if I had this as a child? But the area that I was coaching in and still coaching is leadership coaching. I love helping new leaders to gain skills in that area and to really kind of, shoot off their career. And I love helping people to feel more confident in that area. But I also love helping new coaches to learn how to coach. And so we started up the coaching academy itself, which was to develop, and we developed our own course and built it from there. And we took everything that we were doing with our own clients, me and my business partner, Matt, and we built that into a course. And I felt that I would be giving back more if I could have more coaches like doing, so they could work with people like me when I was a child and or at school and a student. And I didn't know which direction I wanted to go in, but I didn't want to work with, I knew I couldn't work with everyone. And I didn't personally want to work with the youth, but I knew that there would be people. And so
this is the whole fishing rod and the fish thing.
Absolutely. And so, and then it turned into, we didn't just have people who wanted to become professional coaches joining the program, but we also had people who wanted to do better in their workplace and just be better. I mean, we had people who wanted to come and do some professional personal development and didn't want to be a coach at all. We had people who wanted to bring it into their workplace and make their workplace a better place to be. And so it kind of went from there.
Transferable skills though, isn't it, ultimately? Because if you're teaching people how to, then everybody's going to want a modicum of knowing how to, regardless of which background you come from. Hence why I guess you've got such a big,
and Alex knows that that's caused me no end of problem when deciding who my
niching,
that's
target market's fun.
But because it's like, well, everyone could benefit from these skills, and they really could. So we have, but the difference you see in people who take our course from the beginning to the end is fabulous. And I'm not saying everybody should come and do my course, but what I am saying is that learning how to communicate, learning more about yourself, gaining in self-knowledge really helps you to overcome some of these difficulties.
Absolutely.
So this came up a couple of times already today, the awareness of oneself and acceptance to allow change.
Yeah.
I think the front part of that is not self-explanatory, but easy to find through a hard journey.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I say wrong word. Simple, not easy.
Yeah.
But when you're in a place, I think it's a really good time for this conversation, January, because naturally, you know, I'm not going to fall into the travel insurance
the narrative,
in the narrative,
that we
but
have,
you know, that I do feel just through the conversations I have every day that people are in there seems to be a positive mindset around. Maybe it's just the Shifties community because we're all so awesome, but there seems to be this mindset like I'm ready to change. How can we move forward from now? I'm in acceptance that I need to develop myself. I want to develop a coaching leadership style or whatever. How do we process that, do you feel?
Well, absolutely. What you say is true. I think January people do tend to get into that kind of mindset. But I think also this year, there's a bigger want for shift. You know, we've been through a tough couple of years and, you know, we're hearing about the Great Resignation where people are just saying, I want to have more meaning in my life. I want, you know, I want to do more. I want to help people more. I want to create a bigger impact in what I do. I don't just want to sit behind a desk and do the thing that I've done because I need the paycheck. I want to actually have meaning. And you know, in some ways, there's no easy answers because yes, the awareness has to come first. So you have to do that inner work. But when you're there, it's about making a choice, about kind of changing and understanding. And what led me to change my career, and I actually loved my previous career, but I knew I was at a point where I needed more. I was flying for a living, so I was like jetting around the world. I loved that part of it. But I'd kind of come to the end of my time as a flight attendant, and I was like, I need to give a bit more to people. I want to have more meaning in what I do, and I want to help people more. And I'm helping people to have a good time on their holidays and you know, on their trip. But actually, I think there's more I can do. And I didn't know it then, but I was looking at my values and I was getting to understand what were the things that were important to me. And so I kind of went through this process, and it was only when I looked back when I did values in my coaching course, I'm like, that's why I was making these decisions, because I wanted to align my life to what was important to me. And so we can ask ourselves some questions. We can ask ourselves, you know, what's really important to me? When I was having the best time of my life, what was going right for me? And kind of look for the higher level kind of things.
Nice.
And then it's about shifting to tweak, because it could just be a tweak. You don't have to leave your job. No. It could just be, I need to make this tweak. You know, if I coached everyone out of a job, I would probably not be very popular with employers.
You wouldn't pay your invoices on time, I'm sure.
The resignation coach.
Resignation of your services.
Absolutely. So it can be about tweaking your experience. And you know, I worked with this guy once who he was actually a manager, and he said, this guy who I'm working with, he's no good. And I was like, well, you know, there were some things to work around that. But then it turned out this gentleman wasn't performing and he wasn't in the right job. And through coaching, he realized that he wasn't in the right job. He started asking him questions about his values, what was important to him, what did he enjoy doing, what was he doing at the time of his life when he was most motivated. And they just tweaked the job he was doing and
thrived.
Yeah.
Do you know, I can't stop smiling. I'm just sitting here smiling throughout this whole interview because everything you say kind of comes down to that whole know thyself and to understand what it is that makes your soul sing. And actually, if the past 2 years have shown us anything, it is the fact that we do not have to leave anymore these lives which are given to us by the man. Do you know what I mean? There is something alternative. There is something else out there for us.
It's infinite. Actually.
Yeah, but being aware, right? Yeah. Being aware of and knowing and tweaking. I love that.
Absolutely.
You've got just to stop you in tracks for a second because you've got a lot of love in the comments here from Mr. Newman and Todd. I know you. I think it's a good time. So you've got questions there that you've outlined. You usually start with what? Bloody coaches. They always
absolutely.
Why is that? Why is that?
It's to get people opening up, talking, expanding on what. If we ask questions like, "Are you this?" We're assuming about them. So it's about not assuming. It's about creating that space for you to talk into what you're thinking. Actually, a lot of people get coaching wrong. They believe that coaching is helping someone and telling them what to do, and we don't.
Right. Back
How many
in the day,
times?
so ABC Life Sport, my business, has been running for 13 years. See that little plug there? ABC Life Sport, 13 years. 13 years we're running that company. And when I first started my business, I remember getting a business coach. And I talk about it in my podcast, but it was very interesting because what I needed at the time was business support and mentoring. What happened was I sat down in my living room because I ran my business from home, and the coach said, "So tell me what it is that you want." And I was like, and it was that whole try, but I didn't know anything about my business. So I made a very interesting disparity there between coaching and mentoring and being told on business support. So I love the fact that you've just kind of cemented that. Thank you. I was not wrong when I told her to get out.
It's funny because Sarah and I had this conversation a lot, and I've got a big ambition to challenge this whole thinking because, I think we as a country or as a culture, the UK, are not quite there in terms of the acceptance of coaching. A bit like this layering on, like, just beautifully. It's like I planned it. I didn't actually plan it. But we had a PT in at 6 this morning talking about PTing, and it's, comparing it to therapy, saying, you need the tools. The PT gives you the tools. And the therapist, when it comes to your mental fitness, gives you the tools, right? Where the coach gives you the tools, like it helps you find the tools. And I think it's just really interesting that it's the facilitation of education that we need to be talking about. And that's kind of fundamentally, if you look at the system of our education system, not enough of actually, we don't need gurus anymore. We don't need professors anymore. This is why we have this wonderful thing called the internet. We actually need fantastic facilitators, and fantastic facilitators are usually coaches.
Absolutely. I mean, you can find out anything you want on the internet. We have so much information and knowledge at our fingertips. We don't necessarily need the help with that. What we need to work out is how we can use it, what it means to us, how we can make the best of that to become the best.
And what are the right questions?
And what are the right questions?
And coaches are bloody good at asking questions.
That's right.
That's all they bloody do.
The irony is,
my husband gets really annoyed.
I can imagine.
But it is interesting because I now have a coach, and it's brilliant because I now know what to expect with it. And by the time I finished my session, I go, "Whoa!" And there's some action points, and that came from me because she asks the right questions. So now I understand what coaching is. I am fully on board with it and understand how powerful it can be.
And there's a place for all of those things there. So I mean, we're talking about mental health, today as well,
and mental fitness,
and mental fitness, and I always think about counseling is in kind of. We actually have a graph that we teach people, and it's like if it's kind of getting out of the problems, it's more counseling that you might need to go to, and therapy, and looking back at the past. And if you're stuck and you can't stay there, then the coach wouldn't be the right place for you to be at that point.
No, nor always a mentor. That crosses paths because as someone who does a lot of consultancy and mentoring for young businesses, it does they bleed on you. Like people bleed because they naturally do. And the same as we said, same again, the PT, the coach, the therapist, everyone, or the barber. If that wonderful ITV, I'd say that I was laughing saying I don't watch TV, but I did watch an ITV advert. With that, I don't know if you've seen the ITV advert where the hairdresser's there in the cabin, everyone's coming through talking about it, and then someone just stopped and went, "Are you okay, mate?" Or whatever the phrase was. And it's just you have to burden that. But I just it's just really weird how it just layers on.
It does. And so you see some natural coaches come out through, hairdressers would probably make really good coaches in some way. Or maybe counselors and so it's something I take through everyone who kind of comes to me. Is it coaching that you
That's
want
really important.
Do? I think some of the best mentors probably coach first because they know how to ask questions as well, but they will give their experience. In fact, sports, coaching came from sports coaching, and it's a bit unfair to say, well, you've got it wrong, because it came from there. But they probably do more training and mentoring than
you're right, because they're teaching from experience.
Yeah,
I think, but fundamentally the good thing is, I feel like it's good and it's growing in the UK, is that it's education. People are talking about it, and great people like yourself are out there. I've got my issues.
Yeah.
I've got my issues with some of these franchises and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And I really,
me too.
Yeah, we'll sort them out at some point. But I think it's great that these conversations are happening, and I think it's wonderful that education's there. So, okay, so we're into. I'm just taking us on a bit of a journey. I'm trying to take us on a bit of a journey here. So we're in acceptance. We've asked. We're at the question stage.
Yeah.
What 5 questions? Come on, let's give everyone. Let's give
not giving away any intellectual property right now.
No. For someone that can, for someone that I'm thinking about someone who. There's a big group of people in the UK. We go to this Great Resignation. So 5 million. So US numbers was 5 million people that have moved jobs or quit their job this year, right? Yeah. And UK, that's happening now. And I'm seeing, you talk about subtle changes. A good friend of mine doing really well. He's in PR and comms. He was offered a job. He had to work 5 days continuously, but he was offered a new job. With 20 grand pay rise, like big money. And his response, he said he went back to his boss and said, yeah, I'd like to have the pay rise. I'd like the new responsibility, but could I have it pro rata at 4 days, please? Fantastic. So I won't take the 20K, I'll take 16K.
Yeah.
I'll get that day.
But I'll have the day.
Yeah.
So that's those moments. So I do think a lot of people are in that stage right now. So I just think it's really helpful while we've got you in this moment. If we can think of 5 what questions that would be really helpful to people that could be asking themselves those questions right now.
Yeah. So, and feel free to bring in your own, but I'm going to challenge you.
Yeah, of course you are. Bloody coach, I'm out.
So what question would you ask, Alex?
I knew you'd ask that.
Well, I mean, first of all, I think what's most important to you in life, and then digging down on what do you get from that, because most people come back with things like family, status, or hopefully they'll come up with things like things that are a bit deeper than that. So we're looking for those kind of higher level deep words like, oh, well, it's really important to me to have adventure in work. Okay, adventure. So what does that look like to you? And kind of get them into explaining that. Is that something you need in work or that you can get outside of work?
Nice.
So that kind of what is most important to you in life, and what does it give you, and kind of get them.
And really I bet you have to ask that about 10 times before they actually give you anything that's like meaningful.
Absolutely. Well, people will come out with a meaning, but they'll first come out with, so family, for example, or money, or any of these things, they're vehicles to achieving. So yes, the guy who wants to pay rise. But what is it that he wants to achieve through money? Is it to have stability in my family? Is it to allow me to set up a business on the side? So is it the business that's then important? And then if money were no object, what would you do?
That's a great question. I love that question. I love that question.
What would you do?
If you let's frame it. I frame it differently. I'd say, what if you were paid? Like there's some data that says anything over 100 grand a year is negligible.
If you had everything you needed,
basically, then what role would I would be a teacher. I always wanted to be a teacher.
I'd do what I do.
Yeah, I would just be. I would like to do that. Or I'd go and just follow KD around.
But you'd probably be a teacher in the most awesome of schools, to be fair, because like obviously the school that we're gonna build, like
the entrepreneurial school,
exactly,
School 22. Yeah, I build my own school.
You can't be on no government timetable for our schools.
No,
not at all.
No, I can't get up in the morning.
Exactly. Well, majority of young people cannot, because it's not.
Well, why do you think we start here? So when people work here, youngers as well. They start at like 11. Yeah. Because actually, scientifically,
I know.
They shouldn't be getting up at that time in the morning.
What's the guys Walker, Matthew Walker, Why We Sleep.
It's
Yeah.
mad.
Brilliant book.
But
Yeah,
read the,
Mr. Carter,
why are they
we've
not
done
reading the book?
Yeah,
Because
read
it
it.
doesn't fit the
Narrative.
Yeah, it
Don't
doesn't
get started.
fit-
This is
All
not
right,
that.
let's-
This
all
is
right,
not
we're
that
going route,
conversation,
we're not
Alex.
going that route, we're
This
not
is
going that
not.
route.
No, we're not.
Sorry.
So, yeah, I'm not going to get 5 questions done in our time.
I'm sorry.
I mean, that's
Hijacked.
fine.
But
Go for
but
it.
that's
you
two
can see
good ones.
we're already
Yeah.
starting to have conversations about what's important to you and what you would do.
Mm.
And that's a discussion that you can then kind of like take further and really help people to go down into, well, what is it about that?
Yeah.
You know, so what is important about that? I don't often ask the why question because it can kind of create, but you know, getting down to why it's important to someone. And then I think kind of just, I'll get another question.
You'll get one
I'll get
more
question. You know, when you were the happiest in your work, what was happening? What was going on for you? And get them to describe that situation.
Is that at home or like in your
Just
personal life or like what was going on?
You can ask that about various areas of life. So, you know, when you were happiest, what was going on for you in work, around work? The more description you can get there, the better.
Yeah.
Could you journal through that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that'd be really powerful.
And I think people, you know, people have different ways of handling things. So, as a coach, I wouldn't necessarily say, "Oh, go away and journal," but I would say, "How would you like to process this? How would
Because they need
you know,
to process it. They can't. Yeah.
So, what's the best way for you to process this? You know, and to help them to get there. And you know, when you're working with a coach, the coach is kind of, you start focusing on the now, but as you go through the process of working with a coach, you should hopefully you're getting to see the future more. It's clearer. You're walking towards it. You're taking small actions towards it. Everyone thinks that they have to take this massive action, and that's where they fall down. But it's the
small steps.
It goes back to what I was saying this morning.
Step by step.
Yeah, go on, Alex.
I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. I had caffeine.
I was saying this morning, it can be, I run a business. It is overwhelming.
Absolutely.
And all of that, when you are wholly responsible for everything, having that broken down into tiny bite-sized pieces just makes you a little bit more space.
And also
in your head.
allow the other pieces to just
Do what
they're
they're
over there.
do. Yeah.
They're over there. They're not gonna do
Doesn't
it.
affect me right about now.
These are right now. I've got to do this.
It builds into such a momentum that it creates this momentum that just drives you forward.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And before you know it, you're where you wanted to be. And you're like, wow.
Yeah. What I also love about a coach, and I know, I've got kind of different people in my life for different things.
Yeah.
And my coach doesn't know me personally, which is wonderful because then they're not biased. And they're not biased because they don't care about that side of my life. This is purely about my work. It's purely about my role as a chief exec. This is the bit that I need help with. She doesn't really know anything else, which is wonderful because I then don't have to bombard other people in my life with the stuff I speak to her about.
Absolutely.
And actually, that's really important, especially in our community. If people don't understand what you're living through, it's really difficult to kind of provide support that way.
You also have the answers. That's the fundamental of coaching is that
absolutely
you have
the
head,
answers.
Yeah, and so it's when you don't have the answers, you may go for other things. But absolutely, as a coach, I truly believe that people have, a good amount of the answers within them, and don't, they can get the information from other places. And there's times when they might need a mentor. There's times when they might need therapy. I've had both of those actually. I also have my own coach, and I think that there's value in all of those. But to come back to your point, absolutely, you don't. In some respects, it can really help you as a coach if you don't know the person personally.
Yeah.
And I always kind of advise against working with people who are too close to you.
Yeah, I agree.
It's wherever you're. If you're good as they're good, then you're not going to be the best help to them. I think.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely fundamental.
With my husband, I have a buy-in in all his decisions, so I can't coach him.
Yeah. My husband can't coach me. Also, babes, and I know you're listening to this on your laptop. I love you with every inch of my being. But it comes from a place that's not centric in my mind. Does that make sense? It's kind of like you said, you bring it out of people. I think it's very easy for people to go, "Oh, you just need to do this." And in those words, you just need to.
Yeah. Do I? Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. So you just need to do that. I'm like, well, if I just needed to do that, I would have done it before.
Yeah.
What's the barrier?
Everyone
And
would have done
actually,
it.
yeah. So it's working through and having the right questions to ask. I love that. So yeah, I love my coach. She's wonderful. Get coach. Get one, they're brilliant.
Okay, brilliant.
Fantastic.
Sarah, thank you. And I
You're
want to echo the wonderful comments that are coming through on here, Evelyn as well, from the community. You've been such a wonderful support in the community for anything we're doing. You're always in there, involved, helping us out, holding us accountable, and just being a wonderful human being. So I thank you for that. It's been absolutely
you.
amazing
You're
seeing you
welcome.
grow as well.